I'll give you a little math equation for the day. No, don't click out. This is actually good. Phil Mafah equals 9 wins. Like, just his contribution equals 9 wins. I'm going to tell you why I think I'm actually getting this math problem correct. And if you're a real Clemson fan, you actually pull for your Tigers. You understand what I'm saying. You understand the talent that Phil Mafah brings to the team, the stability, and why he gives us a great chance of being competitive throughout this season while we still figure out what's going on with the offense. If you're in that camp, you're going to be happy about this. Welcome to Clemson Football Live. I'm Brian. It is a beautiful Monday on June the 17th. I hope you'll subscribe if you like what I'm doing. You'll pass this along to your friends, neighbors, and even the people who show up in my comment section just to tell me how terrible I am. I appreciate you watching me too. I hope everybody will subscribe. It is free. Also, if you want to support the channel on a monthly basis, it's there's a join button below the video. Unless you're on an iPhone, you probably won't see it there, but it's $3 or $5 per month. You choose. So, let's dive right in. Phil Mafah has played second fiddle to Will Shipley for a very long time. Now, here's the deal. Will Shipley is talented. Will Shipley is not the back, no offense to him, that you want when your offensive line is suspect. Yes, I know how many yards he averaged per carry during his college career. No, I'm not saying that Will Shipley is not a good football player, but what I am saying is when your offensive line is suspect, riddled with injury, questionable development, 4 stars looking like 2 stars, 5 stars looking like 3 stars, you need to understand you need a powerful back, someone who can go in there, create a running lane, and through their power of their, just overall ability, their physique, and even their ability, even though he is not a gazelle, Phil Mafah is not slow whatsoever. You need that type of back to punish the other team and give yourself a chance to win ball games that maybe in other cases you might lose. Shipley was more of a finesse guy. I know he would keep his feet digging into the ground. I'm not knocking him again. But for the problems for this time right now that we're dealing with at Clemson and the uncertainty on the offense, Phil Mafah at 6'1", 230 pounds is the man that we need for the job. Now, you may ask yourself, and you should, Brian, Phil equals 9 wins. What exactly does that mean? So let's take a look at the Clemson schedule. I'm going to just talk about it. I'm not going to share it here. I really don't like anything that I'm finding. I find FBS schedules, but it's not really nice to share on screen. We all know we play Georgia first, then we play Appalachian State. Appalachian State is not a bad football team, folks. And I know everybody's like, oh, yeah, App State, this, that, and the other. They are picked to finish first in their conference this year. I've seen them play in person, saw them last year. I'm not saying they're going to beat Clemson. I'm just saying they're going to be tough. NC State, you play Stanford, then you're at Florida State. So let's kind of boil that down. Obviously, Georgia is Georgia. Appalachian State, that's going to be the first home game. Yes, they're talented, but I believe, well, I'll get into that in just a second. Then you have NC State. They do have questions on defense, though they have a few solid, really good defensive players, but there's holes throughout the defense, so there's questions there. There's questions there versus on the offense, you have a lot of talent. Let's move on to Stanford, and then at Florida State. Obviously, Florida State in Tallahassee, Mike Norvell and Dabo, they've had this thing going on for a little while. It's kind of interesting. And then, of course, DJ playing quarterback for them. I believe that we're going to see them fight, but, well, basically because there's a great chance that whoever wins that game ends up in the conference championship. But I digress. After that, you have Wake Forest, Virginia. Then you're off. Louisville. Now, Louisville has a decent amount of returning defensive starters, but I'll get to that in a moment. At Virginia Tech. They're getting better, but still. At Pittsburgh. The Citadel. And then the game chickens comes to Clemson, South Carolina. All right. Now, what am I talking about with Phil Mafah equals 9 wins? What I am trying to convey is that when you look at his playability versus the majority of our schedule, so there's 12 games on the schedule, I am saying that 75% of the teams, 9 out of the 12 teams that we're going to play, cannot control Phil Mafah. They can't. Appalachian State, they're not a pushover, but this is going to be the first home game. It's already an 8 p.m. game. It's going to be a night game. I mean, come on, y'all. The Valley is going to be popping. And even with that, whatever happens in the Georgia game the week before, this is the very first home game. And a home game in Death Valley at night, if you know, you know. So you have Phil Mafah. Do you think he's going to be controlled by Appalachian State? As long as he's not hurt, and I'm going to go ahead and throw that out there, as long as Phil Mafah does not get injured or suffer some type of tweak that really prohibits him from being Phil Mafah, that's the only thing that I can say would undermine anything that I'm laying out to you. But Appalachian State, Phil Mafah is going to run on those guys. You could feed the rock 25 to 30 times to Phil Mafah and win the ball game and probably not even have to wash the jerseys of most of your offensive team except for the line. And he's going to win that game. You have NC State. And I had the guys from Locked On Wolfpack last week, had former defensive lineman for NC State, Kenton Gibbs, on here. He was talking. It was a great time. Go check out that video, and also go to their channel. Tell them that you heard about them from me. I had a great time with them. They were a lot of fun. And it was good to hear insight on the Wolfpack. But what really resonates with me is they were really honest about their team. And so they're hopeful, but they were very honest. And I really like that. The questions they are on defense for the Wolfpack. So there's a good chance that you could see Phil Mafah come out and really run well against them. Now, I'm not counting this in the 9 games, by the way. The NC State game, I'm not counting this there. I could say 10, but I'm not going to go overboard here. That Phil Mafah equals 10. I'm not going to go overboard and say that. I'm not going to include NC State on that, which I would not be shocked if Phil Mafah was a major reason we won that ball game. Stanford is not good, and I'm going to be nice about that. Phil Mafah's Phil Mafah is going to run all over them. Now, Florida State, I think that they're going to come in. These teams like Georgia and Florida State and maybe NC State. That's why I'm, as I said, not included in the 10 or in the 9 or driving it to 10. These teams are going to stack the box like any good defensive coordinator is going to do, and they're going to say, we're putting the game on Cade Klubnik's shoulders. And we're going to put the game on the shoulders of 2 freshmen who's never played wide receiver in D1 football. Sure, I hope they come out and burn it up. But, we're going to put the game on the shoulders of Antonio Williams. Last year, he was injured a lot. Injuries get into some people's head, and I can't blame them. But we're going to put the game on Cade Klubnik's shoulders, and I think you're going to see that. But a lot of these teams, they still don't have, even with that, they don't have the ability to stack the box and still control Phil Mafah. So like Wake Forest, it's at Wake Forest. Clemson's going to travel very well to that game, as they always do, turn the stadium orange, and Wake Forest can strain until they pop a hemorrhoid, and they're not going to control Phil Mafah. Virginia, Tony Elliott's going to come back to Clemson for the first time since leaving Clemson to take over there. There's nothing Virginia can do to stop Phil Mafah. You're going to be off. You're going to play Louisville. Louisville is suspect. Now, Louisville returns a lot of starters on defense from that team. You know, last year they did what they did. I know that they kind of ran out of gas, but what Brom did was unbelievable. I just don't think that in Clemson, South Carolina, they're going to control Phil Mafah. At Virginia Tech is kind of in an interesting place right now We thought that they were going to get better. We thought that maybe things would change with that Fuente guy. It didn't. And they got another guy up there, can't remember his name, trying to get it better. But this is not 1999 Virginia Tech, folks. Now, I'm not saying that's going to be an easy game. I see Phil Mafah running well in that game. And then next week at Pittsburgh, yeah, I see him running well in that one. Citadel, duh. And then South Carolina, I believe he's going to run very well in that ball game. So when I step back and I look at that, and then I consider our defensive play, even though we have a bunch of young kids coming out there to play, except for a few players, Barrett Carter, R.J. Mickens, some of those guys. Other than them, you've got a bunch of youngsters out there who just happen to be unflippin' believable. And you have a coaching staff behind the defensive squad who I trust. Why? They have incredible experience and tenure. And I'm talking about career-wise. The vast majority of them do. That's the reason the defense looks good. So you take that plus Phil Mafah and his just absolute brutal running attack that he has. And he's also a guy that if he breaks through a seam, you might run him down, but you're going to run him down 40 to 60 yards after he's done his damage. Ask Notre Dame. And that's not just Notre Dame. He has done this a lot. When he was a freshman, if my memory serves me correct, and they played Florida State, I remember, I think I was at the game with either Pigskin Pete or Chase Henderson. I can't remember. And I remember I nudged him when Mafah went in. I was like, they had all these other guys playing in front of Mafah. They had Rencher. I want to say they had Kobe Pace. They had, of course, Shipley. And I nudged him. I was like, thank God this guy is in. I said he's special. There's just a look he has. There's a way he runs. There's a brutality, but there's also this ability to hit the next gear. And I promise you, it wasn't too long after that he peeled off like a 60-yard run against them, and Florida State was going, who is that guy? And I want to say he was a true freshman. Phil Mafah is the type of back that you need in this situation, and he can get you 9 wins. Now, when you play NC State, you play Florida State, and you play Georgia, it's going to have to be a total team effort. And for anyone out there going, well, you have to have a total team effort against these other teams, I get what you're saying, that you have to have blocking up front. That he can't go out there by himself. I get that's not what I'm advocating. What I am saying is that he can just have okay blockers in front of him. He is that flipping good. And when you get into Florida State, NC State, and Georgia, mainly Florida State and Georgia, but I'm throwing NC State in there because I think this year could be special for them. I didn't say they're going to go to the college football playoff. I didn't say they're going to win the ACC championship. I'm just saying this is probably the most hopeful NC State team we've seen in a very long time. You're going to have your crap together. Unfortunately, Florida State and Georgia and NC State, they're within our first 5 games. And I wished it was towards the end of the season after we worked some things out. Kind of found out who we really are, who's really playing well, has anybody developed, as I like to say, get your offense's feet up under them. It's the same for the defense, but I'm not, again, because of the really good coaching, I'm not worried about our defense. So, if you're wondering why I am excited about Phil Mafah and the reason that I go out on a limb and I say Phil Mafah equals 9 wins, I just explained myself. I don't believe these teams that I named out, 9 of the 12, and possibly NC State, but I'm going to hold that. I'm going to hold that. 9 of the 12, I just don't think that they can keep up with Phil Mafah. And I'm going to semi-quote, I can't remember verbatim what Kenton Gibbs said the other day on our show, or on my show. As I said, he played for NC State. He was defensive lineman there. And he talked about the brutality of Mafah. He said Mafah at 6'1" and 6'1", 230 pounds, is the type of guy that he leans against you. And at the beginning of the game, you're like, we're going to wear him down. And he said, you get to the second quarter, he's still leaning on you. That's where other backs, they're starting to fatigue, starting to lose that power. He said, then you get to the end of the third quarter and you're looking at your fellow defensive linemen and your linebackers and you're going, what is up with this guy? He's not giving. He's just as brutal as he's been the entire flipping game, and that's what wears on you. They were highly complimentary of Phil Mafah, and it's stuff that I've been saying for a very long time and that some of you have been saying for a very long time. Phil Mafah has played second fiddle for too long. I'm not knocking Shipley. I'm not, but I'm telling you folks, again, this guy, I believe, barring injury, is going to shine this year. And maybe Clemson gets 10 wins. Maybe Clemson gets to the ACC championship. I don't know, but I will tell you this. If Phil Mafah is healthy, I see at least 9 wins because he is that flipping good. Folks, what do you think? Leave the comments below. Let me know exactly what you're thinking. I'm going to go to the comment section real quick and just say a quick hello to everyone. I got, let me see, Athens Tiger in here. Athens Tiger is a member. Sup, Brian? It's good to see you, Athens Tiger. You see that little circle beside Athens Tiger's name? Yeah, that means that Athens Tiger is a supporter of the Clemson Football Live channel. So thank you so much for supporting the channel. Patrick Bartlett. Right now, I've got at least nine wins, but that's not my official expectation for the season. As we get closer to the season, I'll go over to the Clemson team and I'll give my thoughts on it. Let's see. Rob Allen's in here. Good to see you. Got Zachary White in here. Said, found out DJ is with FSU and almost crapped himself. Yeah, there's a lot of people. It's crazy that Mafah hasn't been the starter this entire time, from Cole Kennedy. I mean, once again, I'm not knocking Shipley. This is very nuanced. I appreciate Will Shipley, but I'm telling you, I think if Shipley played against Notre Dame this year, we wouldn't have won that game. And the reason why is because the brutality of Phil Mafah really shined in that game. And a lot of people's talking about offensive line play and this, that, and the other. I'm telling you, Phil Mafah was a big reason why. Let me see. Rob Allen says, please, no fumbles and pick up the blitz. Yeah, he's got to get a little better of picking up the blitz. That happened a couple of times. You got to fix that. Let's see. Jonathan Benton, if we don't get our passing game together, not sure it will matter how good he is. I agree against the more upper echelon teams, definitely the upper echelon teams, Georgia, Florida State, maybe NC State. I'm holding out on that one. But on the other games, I think that we can move the ball quite effective with him, and I think his brutality will get us there because those other teams are just, I just don't see them being that good. But I get what you're saying. On paper, 100%. Yeah. I guess we forgot the fact that he lost us the FSU game by missing a block. No. I don't think that he lost us the FSU game by missing the block. I think that there was certain things that lost us the game, and we went into, double overtime in that game? I always forget. But 904 Hurricanes. Good to see you, 904 Hurricane. Does 93 get you into the playoffs? No. Not with Clemson. He also won the Notre Dame game single-handedly, so there's that. I really believe that, Jay. He really did. 186 yards, 36 carries, 35 carries, somewhere in there. 904 Hurricane, does 93 get you into the ACC championship? Maybe. Because remember, NC State, man, I want to say they don't play Florida State in the regular season. So, NC State might get in, but somehow NC State can get upset here and there, and you just never know about them. But Florida State, it's just there's a lot of things that could go wrong for a bunch of teams. I mean, it really all hinges on at Florida State if DJ plays anything like he's played in the past 4 years. And I'm not talking about, 3 years. I'm not going to count his few freshman games that he had. But anyway, we will see. Tyler Watucky, who's up if Mafah gets injured? All I'm going to say is Keith Adams, I believe, that David Easy, I think they're calling him Easy U or something like that. I know his name is something else. I can't remember it. But, yeah, we'll see. Let me see. Sue Kavanaugh. Haven't seen you in a while, friend. Sue Kavanaugh. Good to see you. How much, Harmon J.C. Vol, how much longer do you give ACC until Claps would love to see Clemson join the SEC? I have no clue. That's there's so much going on there, but we will see. Correct, NC State does not play FSU or I believe Miami. That's right. NC State has I told those guys, you pretty much you have an easy schedule. And I mean, it wasn't like it was a slap at them. They knew it too. They were like, yeah. If we don't win 10 games this year, it's like, what are we doing? Because you have Tennessee and you have one other, oh yeah, it's Clemson. So you have Tennessee and Clemson. And then after that, I mean, it's a really bad schedule. And so you can't help who you schedule. If you're the fans or if you're the team, maybe your administration can, but yeah, there's a good chance those guys mace it. Yeah. Going through here, Bentley Kellett. Will K get benched if he shows no improvement? No. And I don't mean that snarky towards you that I answer it that fast. I mean, he'd really have to stink it up before he gets benched. I mean, bad. Like, I'm talking about throw 4 interceptions in a game bad. He's not going anywhere. Warden Martinez will be good this year. I hope Cade and Phil battle it out. Quentin Southard, do you really think DJ has a chance against our defense? The thing that we do have a chance at, Quentin, or that gives us a chance in that game, is that we know DJ better than anyone, and it's interesting. It's really, really interesting. That, to me, DJ playing against us actually gives me hope that we can beat Florida State. Watch him go off in that game for 500 yards, and I'm like, one game. It's kind of like Joe Milton. Joe Milton had one good game in his 6 years of playing college football, and I'm talking about against good football teams. Joe Milton had one good game, and it was against Clemson. So, but if DJ plays anything like he's played over the past 3 years, it gives us a chance. Jay says NC State has a 1-game season this year. Clemson, they play Tennessee 2 weeks before us. And Tennessee is questionable in their secondary. They got to get some things worked out on the defense. They have some good players on the defense. I'm going to have somebody on to talk about that. I might try to get Sports Talk Jay on here. But their offense, Tennessee's offense, is absolutely ridiculous, who they have playing on the offense. So it'll be interesting. They have a 2-game season. But the thing is, they can lose the Tennessee game and lose to Clemson and still make it to the ACC championship, according to how other teams perform. Go through here real quick. Who will be running back 2? Yeah, Keith Adams Jr. or that David guy, Easy-Ome. I can't remember how to pronounce his name. So, but David Easy. I don't know. The guy's very talented, but we'll see. We will see. Roll with DJ or kept DJ or roll with Cade. I still think we should have rolled with Cade, and I think we should have rolled with Cade earlier. But there's a lot of nuance there too. All right, folks, I'm going to let you go. Thank you so much. I want to hear your opinion. Throw it in the comment section below. Folks, as always, go Tigers.